What's going on, brothers and sisters? You know what I want to do? This is going to be a little different for me. I have some different equipment so I can do things a little different than I've been able to in the past. So what I want to do is I want to do a play-by-play. I don't even know. I might call this play-by-play. I always have subdivisions of the podcast, the feedback section, the regular podcast, Kiaun vents. Sometimes it's happened in the past, but I think I'm going to call this one play-by-play. I don't know. We'll see. But I want to do a play-by-play of what was said at that meeting, that business meeting with Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Mad Booty. I want to get into the details of that, and we're going to try this format out for the first time because I've never done it like this, so it may be some hiccups in between, but let's see what we get. So this is the beginning of it right here.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware, too, and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox.
So everybody knows that people have been looking forward to this. It was a lot of disarray in the Xbox community as it was when this situation had happened, hearing about these different titles going to PlayStation, going to Nintendo Switch. So many different things happened at that point in time, and so many reports were coming out. It was a whole lot of confusion. So people wanted answers, and they wanted them yesterday. So later on during the course of the week, as more and more stories came out about Gears of War going to PlayStation, Halo going to PlayStation. Oh, I mean, just flagship franchises going to the other platform. People were wondering what was going to happen. So this is the result. So let's keep going.
So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles.
God, dog. Now, I've seen this. I don't want you guys to think that this is a live reaction. This is my first time seeing this. It is not. But God darn, 4 titles going to other platforms. And I'm looking at these guys. I don't have anything about body language or any understanding of it, but these jokers look tense on this stage right now. So looking at Phil Spencer saying, we're going to have these 4 titles coming to other platforms. Golly, keep going, Phil.
Just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind.
Man, that is a lie. How are you making decisions that affect Xbox in a positive way? He just sat here and said that is what they do. Every decision that they make is basically for the betterment of Xbox. How is that even possible, Phil, when you guys constantly remind people they don't need to buy the console? Play on your TVs, play on your tablets, play anywhere you want. How are you bringing value to the Xbox brand by doing that? I don't believe that your decisions, the decisions that you make, are for the betterment of the Xbox brand. But let's keep going.
And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team.
How much you got to learn, Phil? You've been at this position for 10 years right now. It's 10 years, Phil. How much more learning do you have to do? And you are already at Xbox in the background. Not every single, I'm doing a little extra with that, but every time, most of the time, a lot of the time, Phil Spencer gets up on stage and he always says that we're continuing to learn. We're continuing to grow and continuing to learn this and that. Phil, come on, man. You've been in this position 10 years. I understand technology is ever growing. Different positions, certain things do happen that can shift it a little bit, but come on, Phil, you've been there 10 plus years in this position, man. God, dog.
And to grow, and we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced.
That's a cop-out, Phil. That's a cop-out. How are you going to put that? Listen, I always want to put this caveat out there. I'm only talking about the Phil Spencer that is the CEO of Xbox. I'm not attacking Phil Spencer's personal character. I'm only talking about the man that represents the brand. I just want to always make that clear. And to me, that is a cop-out. You are there. You're on the stage. You know that people want to know what games are going to the other platforms, but you're going to say, nah, they have a rollout. These jokers have a rollout for the opposite console. Like, this is no different than third party that they're going to have this rollout. I would have thought that Phil should have just told everybody what the games were. Of course, he's going to allude to what games these are in a couple of seconds, but people are under the speculation that it's going to be Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and what's the other game? And I heard Z say, honey, I shrunk for so long, I can't even remember the name of the doggone game for real. The other game with the kids, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, type joint. But, those are supposed to be the 4 that are supposed to be going to, PlayStation. I don't know about Nintendo. We'll see about them. But yeah, let's continue on, man.
Plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles?
Man, it's going to make sense. This whole thing doesn't make sense. And I understand, look, they're trying to get their money, get your bag, do what you got to do. I understand that. But, and this is the thing that kills me about certain Xbox fans. They keep pushing the envelope. They keep pushing it further and further and further. Oh, what's the term, man? That's not a good term. They keep on kicking the can down the road, changing the expectation. At first, it was no games should go on PlayStation. That's not, that shouldn't be accepted. It's no way that should happen unless PlayStation is bringing games over to the Xbox. Now they get this information. Now they're saying, well, I mean, it does make sense. We had it for a year. You guys, PlayStation guys, they can get it. And guess what? They'll put more money into Xbox's pocket so that they can reinvest. I'm saying to myself, man, this is just, it's never going to end. This is never going to stop. It's going to start with these 4. Before you look up, I should say by the time you look up, it's going to be 20 of them on PlayStation, and nobody is going to bat an eye. They just keep on taking Phil Spencer's his stance and point of view and saying, oh, yeah, this is good, this is cool. It's not cool. He's taken away every single reason to go out there and buy an Xbox because he's putting them on other rival platforms. But yet he is going to try and dress it up like he's doing Xbox a favor and has nothing but Xbox's its best interest as an entity at hand. I think that is disingenuous, but we are going to continue.
Titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Now, those were the two big ones.
What was the criteria?
Those were the 2 big ones. He came out there, he said that the 2 exclusives, 2 out of the 4 exclusives will not be Indiana Jones and Starfield. And it's something quite interesting about that as well. Now, I want to shout this brother out too. Attic. Shout out to Attic. Over there at the Iron Lords podcast. Shout out to all them brothers. Them brothers are dope. I really like them. But Attic said that he knew, and of course, you can never take everybody at 100%. And that's no shot at Attic. That's anybody. But he said that he knew for a fact that Starfield was definitely one of the games that was coming to PlayStation. And I don't even think that's a far stretch of the imagination, because at one point in time, we all know the game was being developed for the PlayStation 5. So I'm sure somewhere deep in the hollows of the computer is some code that's buried that was for the PlayStation 5 at one point in time. So how hard would it have been to actually have done that? I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just saying that it's not that hard to believe that that could have been a possibility at one point in time. But because the community was so upset about this, because they really were vocal. I mean, big guys in the Xbox, not the ecosystem, but, big fans of the Xbox brand. Tim Dog came out there. He was extremely vocal. Shout out to him too, and just telling people that he was not happy with the direction that Xbox is going in. So it's a good possibility that maybe, because Phil Spencer said they've heard all of the chatter, they've heard people talking, maybe that was something they took off the table, which shout out to the Xbox community for possibly doing that, because they showed, how upset and mad they were about the possibility of that happening. Let's keep moving.
And how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles.
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place, whether it's one console and PC.
I'll say this. Phil Spencer actually saying that and thinking about the COO, at least the temporary COO over at Sony, talking about, him wanting to put more games on PC, or taking advantage of computers. That does say something. I'm not saying that Phil Spencer's wrong. I can see the industry possibly going that way, and probably a lot sooner than I would expect it to. I just hope that it doesn't get to the point where, at least not at the moment, where these guys are sharing games with each other. And I know some of you guys may say, well, that's a good thing. I mean, if I have an Xbox, I can play Spider-Man 2 or I can play God of War, and vice versa. PlayStation guys will be able to play Halo. They'll be able to play Gears, play where you are. I understand that. But the only problem that I have with that is where does the competition come in, with the two platforms? I understand that Xbox does have Game Pass. That is a heck of a reason to go out there and get an Xbox because of Game Pass. Games being inside of Game Pass. But at the same time, I just worry about the competition aspect of it. I don't know where that leaves us. I just don't know. I understand that some people think consoles are going away. We're going to be under one console. I do not want that. And it's mainly because of competition. If one is offering one thing, then I want to know that I do have the option to get something else if these guys start messing up on said platform. And I think that what separates that, what keeps these guys on their toes to a certain degree, are the games. If I can play your games anywhere, then I don't need your console. So I don't know. Some of you guys are probably going to disagree with that, and that's all good. You let me know in the comments or call in at 443-380-0281 and let me know how you feel, or email the show at theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Let's keep going.
Multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles.
Yeah, here we go.
We looked at games that are over a year old. So they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games.
The community-driven games, that's what had people believing it was Sea of Thieves and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Y'all know the game I'm talking about.
That kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, let's say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So all right. So, what Phil Spencer is saying isn't wrong. Anybody that is invested in any community, gaming community, you want to be sure that when you return to said game, that game is there. All of your stuff is there. You're able to continue on, with your journey, on that game. And, in order to do that, you need money. You need revenue to keep the servers up, to be able to afford to pay the devs, to add the extras, not necessarily DLC, but updates to the game itself. That takes resources and money. So I understand what Phil Spencer is saying from that standpoint. Of them kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say two of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that, but games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios regardless of size.
And that's when people thought Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, because those are both smaller titles. They don't really have, definitely not Pentiment, doesn't have any real roots inside of Xbox. I would have thought that, according to some people that have played Hi-Fi Rush, they said they thought that Microsoft had something with that character and with that world, and maybe they could have made Hi-Fi Rush more of a Xbox-centric game, meaning that you would look at Hi-Fi Rush like you would look at a Halo, or you would look at a Gears of War, something on the lines of that. But again, going back to what Phil said, it's a smaller title. And that's granted if he's even talking about Hi-Fi Rush, if that is the case, then I can kind of understand where he's coming from with that. But I'm still against you putting your games on the other platform. Anyway, let's keep going.
And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio.
And see, that's the other thing. And I hear Phil on that as well when he's talking about actually taking those games, being able to make the money off of those games to be able to reinvest the money even into new titles. That's what everybody was hoping was going to happen when they picked up Activision, when they picked up, good grief. How am I forgetting their name that fast? What is their name? God darn. Come on, somebody help me out there. Help me out. God dog it. Bethesda. Holy cow. Let's keep going.
And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox.
I've never understood that line of thinking. You're going to offer your games on a competing platform to try and lure them off of their platform where they already have games. They have a gamer tag. They have friends. They have DLC or whatever is on the console. You think that by giving them, well, not giving, selling them a game that is available on your platform, that they're going to all of a sudden say, oh, that's interesting. That was a good game. Let me go out and buy a full $300 to $500 console to get more of these games that could appear on my platform later on down the road. I've never understood that. On PC, they said it was going to be the same thing. They market it as, if you don't want to play on Xbox, we'll offer the games on PC. That'll be kind of like a taste, a little bit of a taste of what you can get over on the Xbox brand, and that'll lure them over to the Xbox One. Look how that worked out for you. It didn't. And now you're in this generation and you're getting beat worse than you did in the previous generation. It's this line of thinking, to me, does not work. And I'll stand on that.
We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming.
It's just, hey, Phil, it's just a matter of time, baby. It's just a matter of time, brother. He's trying to do that to calm the flames and the fires over there with the Xbox fan base. This is just a matter of time because Phil Spencer, in an interview, oh my gosh, what was his name? God dog it. Was it Tom Warren? I think it was Tom Warren. He had an interview with Phil Spencer and he asked him a similar question. And he said, well, we don't necessarily, and this isn't verbatim, but this is pretty much the gist of it. He said he didn't want to really rule out any game per se, because you just he didn't say you never know, but he did the PR speak. You just never want to rule out every game. So him just saying that they can't rule out every game means that any and every game that you have can appear on a platform that is a rival of yours. So I don't believe that. This 4 is going to turn into 24. You just give it some time.
It's not. And we're going to learn.
So when you are thinking about the future and this concept of live service games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show. Where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to, hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win.
When everybody plays, we win. That is so corny. Come on, Phil. That's a God. Move this man. Come on, Phil. Listen, man, I do not hear PlayStation or Nintendo speaking this rhetoric that you are speaking, Phil. These jokers got tons of games to play. And they are definitely winning. But all of a sudden, when it comes to Xbox, when we all play, we all win. I don't want to hear that doggone Lionel Kitty City slogan. Man, get the heck out of here, Phil.
Been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in with...
Man, for some reason, I feel like that brother took that line from Totoki. Didn't Totoki say something on the lines of the games used to be to attract people to the platform, to make the platform popular? Man, did you just bite doggone Totoki's verse, Mr. Mad Booty? Did you just do that, brother? Let's keep going, man.
Within the platform today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one.
Whoa. That's good, man. That's great. I gotta give it up for them. I don't agree with the service, but I mean, that is good that they did not change their landscape when it does come to Game Pass. That is still going to be day and date for all of their games, which is absolutely incredible. So does that mean, with Mad Booty speaking and saying that, does that mean that Call of Duty is going to be there day and date? Either way, that's a good job. That's good.
And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox.
There you go. Now, see, that's the key right there. Because you remember Phil Spencer at one point in time, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, he was out there campaigning, saying he wants Game Pass everywhere. If Nintendo wants it, absolutely. If PlayStation wants it, you betcha I'll put it over there. It seems like now they're coming to the realization that neither Sony or Nintendo are going to bite on that service. And why should they? It would do nothing but cannibalize the services that they offer their player base right now. So that says again to me that those platforms aren't having it. It's something they have to come to grips with. And that's why they're saying that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox.
So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save.
I'll be honest. Cross-play, I was against that at one point in time. I didn't think it was a good thing. I liked the fact that you would have to go out and buy a console or both consoles to actually be able to play one player that had a PS5 on a PS5 or Xbox on Xbox. But, excuse me, over the years, I've kind of softened on that a bit because at the end of the day, it truly is about the games, and you need a community there to make sure that the game is active. You know, like the fighting games, Tekken. I'll never be into fighting games, not like that, but unless it's fight night. But, you know, you got Tekken, you got Final Fantasy, 14 coming to Xbox. You got all of these games that do need a player base to be there for it to continue on. Pretty similar to what Phil Spencer said. God dog, I'm biting his balls right now. God darn. But it's really similar to what he said. You know, they need the money, they need the player base to be there so that they can continue to invest into their product. So I get it. The cross-play is cool, and the cross-save is cool too. You know, knowing that if you save a game on the PlayStation 5 and you actually have the game also, I don't know why, but some people do this. You would have the game on the Xbox. You would be able to continue your progress on that console. So I think that is user friendly and customer friendly. I think it's good. I've definitely changed my stance on it over the last couple of years.
Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as first party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, you know, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm...
That's good. That's good. They're at least starting the journey. That's really good. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You got to start somewhere, you know, even though shout out to my brother Glovebox. Glovebox was over in the Analog Circle Facebook group. That brother said, "Are we supposed to be excited for this announcement?" Like, man, it was like Glovebox was telling him, man, are you crazy? Dog, when that game came out last year sometime and y'all are just bringing it to Game Pass. Trust me, Glovebox, I hear you, brother. I hear you. You know, I'm just saying that, they got to start somewhere. I mean, at least now they're finally talking about the Activision games coming to Game Pass, so they're starting with Diablo. I'll give them a little bit of grace on that to a certain degree. I said the last show, it's February, and we haven't heard anything about Call of Duty or any Activision games coming into the service. What's going on? But I also said in that episode that it is still really early in the year, so just may have to give him a little bit of time. But Sarah Bond, she announced it here, so I can't not acknowledge that it's a good move because it's a jumping off point for them to actually build on when it comes to bringing more of the Activision games to the platform. Well, not just to the platform, but to Game Pass, more importantly.
Super, super excited to share today. And it's all part of our commitment to make Xbox, the Xbox experience, and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah. And I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. You know, if you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get to play across Xbox and Windows.
Yeah.
I think we're the only platform that does this.
That's true.
That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms.
Was that a shot, Phil? Was that a shot at PlayStation and Nintendo to implement this into y'all ecosystem? Hey, listen, man, this was always something I've wondered. Now, I think that, shout out to, man, what's my good brother's name? Crimson Phoenix. Crimson Phoenix, I believe he said that he actually uses this feature. Crimson, you have to write in and let me know. But the feature of being able to play the game on your console and then also being able to play it on your Xbox. Outside of Crimson, though, I don't know of anybody else that uses this feature per se. I mean, you guys may have to let me know if this is a popular feature or not, because I'd be very interested to know.
But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places, whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of...
Man, wait a minute, Phil. Now, hold on, brother. Now, you keep bringing up this, because I am looking at this for like the second time in full. So it's certain things that I am catching on to that I may have forgotten about, but I feel like Phil is putting a lot of emphasis on the creators on the platform instead of putting a bigger emphasis on the players that are on the platform. Again, it seems like, and I'm not trying to nitpick here, but it seems like the player, the gamer, is not at the center of the Xbox brand. Because how many times has he mentioned the creators? We want to make sure that this is a platform for creators and things of that nature. You should be saying the gamers first, because without them even being on your platform, you don't have a platform. Anyway, let's keep going.
Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because,
and this just sounds like, the more Phil Spencer talks, it just sounds like more and more he's looking at this from a third party perspective. And I get it. On your platform, you want to make sure that people are supporting the games, that they are buying your games. But if you listen to him, and I'm not trying to go all deep and all of that BS that so many other people do, but if you just listen to the way that he's talking, he's not talking like he's a console manufacturer. Like, he has a console that he has to take care of. He's talking more so to other platforms, gamers, making, having a bigger reach to get more players in. It just seems like when you talk like that, that's usually how third party talks. They're looking at getting this wide net to catch everybody in. And I get it. I understand that, anybody that has a platform, Nintendo, PlayStation, Sony, Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, you have to have players on your platform in order to make it work. I get that, but it just seems like the wording that Phil Spencer is using, it just seems like he's thinking of it more so from a third party perspective. Let's keep going.
Really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. Mm-hmm. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Mm-hmm. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Right. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years. And I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people to engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's...
I always think it's so funny, man, that we all can pretty much assume that this was, of course, it was pre-recorded. I have to believe that these questions were already vetted. So just to hear Phil Spencer acting like this is possibly the first time he's ever been asked this question about the platform, it just kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. But let's keep on going, man.
As people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. Yeah. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves.
Now, that's a good point. Of course, none of us are in these meetings, with these companies and really looking at the full data as it comes out with player count, the industry's growth and things of that nature. And I think it's a safe bet to really say what Phil Spencer is mentioning here it's definitely got some truth to it, a lot of truth, because we've seen the layoffs from last year roll over into this year with such a vengeance, where thousands of people have lost their jobs, and we are not even in March yet. So I definitely hear him when he says that the industry didn't grow. And, you know, what happens when the industry doesn't grow, jobs start to get eliminated. Possibly, shucks, I'm going to record the regular podcast probably after this, but I can give you a heads up here. I'm curious to know if the quality of the games are going to go down because of the stagnant growth, you know, of the industry to a certain degree. So I guess from Phil Spencer's his perspective on this one, I definitely have to agree with him. We want to make sure the industry is growing, more players are coming in, and people are, you know, supporting the industry, as it were, so we can be around for many, many years to come. But let's keep going.
But in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games.
That's very interesting that he mentioned that, because it's this, I think I have it right here. What's his name? Totoki. He was actually talking about, and like I said, this is just a sneak peek, or you know, to the episode that I'll be recording later on after this. But it seems like they are kind of ready to move on to the next generation. They're saying that the growth is not growing fast enough, that they need to see more growth at a more rapid pace, and it's not happening. So I'm really a little concerned about the industry when it comes to it from that perspective. So for Phil Spencer mentioning this, I gotta agree. It's a bit of a scary space that gaming is in. And I only say it's scary because if it gets bad enough, we could possibly have another gaming crash on our hands. I know a lot of people would say that's not going to happen, but if the growth isn't happening and people aren't going out there and supporting these games, and even the console manufacturers out there, or supporting the games on PC, then it's going to be some hard questions eventually that are going to have to be answered, you know, further down the road. But, you know, let's keep going.
Games coming in 2024. But if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players?
Now that's interesting too, because what Phil Spencer was pretty much saying there, at least how I interpret it, that is, okay, do we settle for the amount of people that are in our ecosystem right now, and we just DLC them to death or throw so many microtransactions at them to make up for the money that we are losing out on? Or do we go out there and do we find more players to bring into the ecosystem? That way, the money aspect of asking more out of your player base doesn't have to change. I think that's good thinking as well, Phil. Dog, I tell you, it's like I'm listening to this for the first time with some of this stuff, because dag, I kind of feel myself kind of understanding a little bit more where Phil Spencer is coming from, but I can't agree with the games. I just can't. I can't agree with it, but he's making it a little, not hard necessarily, but he's just making a little bit of sense when it comes to maybe the reasons why they have to do this. God, dog, let me keep going. Shucks, Phil.
And adding those to the base of players that already play. Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business. And
I guess the creators are very important, though, because if you don't have people creating for your platform, you're not going to have players on the platform. So I get where he's coming from. Come on. God, dog. I don't like the way I'm thinking right now. I don't like this. I do not like it. But it just seems like it should just common sense, as he's explaining some of this stuff. It's like I want to be against it so badly, but the common sense side of me is saying, well, whatever is best for gaming as a whole, then do that to make sure that the industry is able to survive. Because I really have this feeling that PlayStation, I don't think they're going to go this crazy as Xbox is going and putting their games outside of MLB, of course, on Xbox. But I do believe the day is coming when they're going to put their games on PC, day and date, and it's not going to be for just a services-based game eventually. And I think it is really just for the overall health of the gaming industry. You need more players to keep this thing going. So, dog it. I'm a little let down by myself. Oh, shucks. Getting to this point where I'm kind of slowly softening. My heart is softening a little bit on what Phil Spencer is saying, but let's keep going.
And put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games.
Absolutely.
Which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
And that's what I'm saying. Matt Booty said it himself. Where you build your library up at, where your friends are. That's where people choose to play based off of those things, which goes contrary to what Phil Spencer just said about offering their games on other platforms to bring them into their ecosystem on their platform. That's another thing I can never stand with. I don't think that makes any sense. I think it's counterproductive when you do that.
Yeah. When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware. We've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Pal World. You know, Pal World was able to launch. They were a game preview.
I give them that, man. They were definitely, they saw this one coming. Pal World has actually been a very, very big success, for them. So, shout out to them for somebody on the team. It might have been Sarah Bond that actually had the foresight to make sure that they got that on their platform first, because they definitely struck some gold with that one.
They launched in Game Pass. They also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success. And it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview. We have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things.
Man, this is so crazy. Sarah Bond she went down a list of different places that you can access games from. And I understand that Game Pass does play a part with this, with how many people actually buy the games, but you would think that these games would be selling gangbusters. Having that many places to sell your game available, I would just think that it would be so much more. Now, granted, the games have to be good. That's the key thing. They gotta be great games in order to sell. I think, Spider-Man sold like 10 million. Spider-Man 2 sold like 10 million copies, something like that. So you gotta have a product that people want. And again, I'm glad that they are at least, it looks like they're gonna see what happens when this next round of games actually releases, to give them a chance to really stand on their own 2 feet and not try to ship them over to the competing rival console right away. But I think Sarah Bond actually talks about the Game Pass numbers here somewhere down the line, but we're going to keep on traveling.
And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users.
Whoa, Sister Bond. Whoa, wait. What did you, I know you did not say, hold on, man. Let me rewind this. Just a taste. I know Sarah didn't say that they're at the highest amount of console users, did she? Hold on.
They launched in Game Pass. They also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success.
We heard all of this,
and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever.
I want to hear what she said.
And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview. We have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things.
Man, they should be.
And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest.
Come on. She did say that. The highest level of users on console. Ah, Sister Bond. You know that's not true. It's been reports that have already come out to say that you are trailing behind the Xbox One right now. But you got more players than you ever have on console. Oh, man. You got to watch them. You got to watch them.
Highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware...
What? Wow. Hey, like I said, we don't always have the numbers they have, but man, I ain't seen those numbers. I ain't seen none of those. Oh, shucks, she doubled down on these mother lovers on these numbers. Darn. I don't believe it though, but we going to keep this script rolling.
Hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents...
Why don't you... What? Daggone it, Sarah Bond. Exactly. Why don't y'all put that out there? Put that message out there. If you want to get the best doggone experience from an Xbox game, you gotta pick up the Xbox. Don't say you don't need it. Game on your TV and on your tablet and on your PC and on your phone. No, if you're gonna say that, at least have the tagline that, but it's experienced best on Xbox, on the Xbox console. Just do something like that. That would even work better than what y'all are doing right now. Ah, man, let's keep going. This thing is, I apologize. I usually try to get y'all out of here. Well, this isn't the podcast, so it ain't no time. Let's keep going.
Developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any stream.
I'm gonna stop pausing this thing so much. I feel like I'm overdoing it, and I do apologize, but I don't know, man. Those games running great on the hardware. I'm thinking about what they just did with the Series X and the Series S. And we know it has been documented multiple times that developers are on record saying that they've been having trouble making games on the platform. Not necessarily because it is hard to do per se, but because they had to make sure that they could include the S. The S had to be able to work. Well, the console version of the X version had to be able to work on the S. Basically, they had to do development for both consoles. They were saying they were having a very hard time at that. And even with certain games that could be, not even certain games, a lot of games that could just be developed on, well, we haven't really seen that yet. I was about to say games that could have been developed strictly on the Series X, but that hasn't happened. All I'm trying to say is when you compare it as well to the PlayStation 5, how their games run versus the PS5, a lot of times it wasn't running as great, wasn't optimized as good as on the PS5. I'm just a little worried about where this can lead in the future. Her saying that they're going to be given the best quality and on the console and things of that nature. I'm just a little iffy on that right now.
any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday.
Okay. So this holiday season, God darn, whoa. Wait a minute. This holiday season, could they be talking about ditching this console generation by as early as possibly next year? I mean, we heard the rumor that Xbox was going to jump out the window in 2026. I was against it. I'm still against it. I hope they don't do that. But her saying that they're going to have an announcement on hardware sometime this holiday season, which leads me to believe this is going to happen at the VGAs or the Game Awards. Kind of like they did with the Series X, maybe? That's interesting.
And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap.
Oh, they got a roadmap for next generation. God darn, do tell.
And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware.
Oh, shucks. Oh, buddy. Man, I keep getting these red flags, yo. I keep getting these red flags. We are experiencing this right now. She said it's going to be a technical leap forward. We heard this about the Series X, and we still haven't seen what that bad boy can really do. We heard world's most powerful console. Nothing is better. But yet PlayStation 5 has had certain games, not all, but certain games that ran better. And if it's the world's most powerful console, it should be able to outdo a 10 teraflop machine on a good day versus a 12 well, I guess maybe not. It all comes down to optimization, comes down to how great the team is or development team can develop for the hardware. So I know that plays a role. We saw that with the PS3 and the 360 back in the day. Well, hopefully this new hardware that Sarah Bond is talking about, hopefully this will be a lot more easier to develop for. I think Jason Ronald, I think was his name. I don't think he's actually building this next Xbox. I think it's going to go to, I've heard it could be going to the Surface team or somewhere else. So we'll just have to see what happens this holiday season. I want to be more excited. I really do about this hardware, but they've just burned me. I mean, so much so I haven't even bought a Series X yet because of just the moves that they've been making. But who knows, if I see it, this holiday season, maybe it'll change my mind.
Generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware, too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. As we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat.
That was a big announcement, too. I was very, very excited when Phil Spencer made that announcement. I thought that was really dope. It was just when the Series X came out, and that's what they put on full display as a selling point of a next generation console with zero software that launched with new hardware, that was when I said, God darn, I'm done. That launch of the Series X, we have never seen a console launch like that. And I don't think the history of gaming, even with the N64, having the limited library that it did at launch, it at least had Mario 64 to sell the console. It had Rumble technology in the controller to sell the doggone console. Star Fox 64 didn't come too far after. So they had some software to sell the hardware, but never, ever during a console launch have I ever seen a company champion backwards compatibility as a reason to buy a next generation console.
Coming to Xbox One, like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. Slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Yeah. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play.
That's a little concerning. Well, he did say servers up as long as they can, so that people can play, being able to keep the servers up. So that means that some games, and this is normal. This happens. Eventually, communities go away. I mean, eventually. I mean, whether it's because the game isn't as active or has as many players on it, or the console itself is no longer active, and that game could only be accessed by that console. Now, granted, with this backwards compatibility, certain games could probably last a whole lot longer than they used to, but I do believe that eventually those types of games, they will eventually become obsolete. So I don't think that it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's unfair that, that could eventually happen.
Is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from
I hear you, Phil. Man, Phil does really great lip service, with these things. But I mean, as someone out there, as an Xbox fan, somebody really looking at the ecosystem of Xbox and what you get from Xbox, knowing that your games, well, they're not they're not your games. I mean, they belong to Microsoft, but the games that were once on your platform, knowing that they're being sent to the rival platform, knowing that it's not going to stop with these 4, that others will be ported over to the rival console. Out of curiosity, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you're not just that in particular, but just the overall feeling of Xbox? Do you feel like Phil Spencer and everybody over there is really respecting you guys' money, your investment, your time? Do you really feel like they're taking care of you as an Xbox customer?
On both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be.
Unless you're Final Fantasy VII. Oh! Kind of hurts. That was a bit of a low blow. That was a low blow. Pardon me for that.
You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing.
I love the fact that she reiterated that their games, Xbox games, will go into Game Pass day one. Bravo on that.
Playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are.
You know what? I think I'm going to try this. Now, that's saying you can bring your library wherever you are. I have a Samsung TV upstairs, and I can get Game Pass on that thing. I am going to try this out. I'm going to try that theory. They said any screen. I've been avoiding that since I got that TV because I'm like, man, ain't no way I'm playing no Xbox game on no doggone TV. But you know what? Just because Sarah Bond said that, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to buy me a Game Pass subscription for 1 month just to see if what she said is true. Because if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be different. I will say that if I some kind of way on the TV, my whole digital library pops up on that joint. I don't know, man. We shall see.
And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry.
Y'all sure the heck are. God darn, y'all got a lot of stuff.
What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up.
God, dog! More than 10 major releases coming up. Wow! Hey, hold on, cut that off. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, God darn, 10? That is, nah, man, that's all right. That's good money right there. That's good money. Dang. That's good money. I can't be mad at that. 10 times. I mean, the only thing though, Matt, God dog, it is these jokers cannot be Redfall. Again, my brother, I'm hoping that these are some really great games. We already know about several of them. Indiana Jones is still supposed to be coming out this year. Hellblade 2 is supposed to be coming out as well. And the God dog, the other game, the RPG Avowed is supposed to be coming out as well. So you mean to tell me they got 7 other games? Well, I don't know if they're counting that PC release. They probably are. But even with that, you mean to tell me they got 6 other major, that's in quotes from Mad Booty, major releases coming up this year? I can't wait to hear it and see it. Great
stuff. Hellblade 2. They've got Diablo expansion. They've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming.
So they will be having a June showcase. Man, shout out to E3, man. R.I.P. to you. It's dope, though. This is dope that they're keeping that tradition going. Having a show in June. That is fantastic. I will say, though, when he talked about that Diablo expansion, I was like, uh-oh. That might be one of the games he's counting for this year. That's what I'm saying. You just don't know what you're going to get with Xbox. I think Flight Simulator is supposed to come out this year. Oh, man. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, brothers. I don't know. I'm always getting excited, and I'm getting excited too doggone fast. I don't know about this. But let's go in and let them wrap this up.
We know pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
All right, man, oh, man. So I will say that was the first episode of, man, I guess I'll call this play-by-play with K. Yeah, for my name, Kiaun. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. This is a little sketchy, a little rocky as well. You know, first episodes of anything can be a little rocky or whatever. But let me know if this is something that you guys would like for me to do more of in the future. And we'll see if we can make that happen. But as always, I appreciate you guys coming over, you know, downloading the episode, supporting it. Thank you guys so much. Definitely let me know. Again, if this is something you guys want me to continue to do, you can do it two different ways. Either email the show, and the email address is the analogcirclepodcast@gmail.com, or you can call the show, and the phone number is 443-380-0281, and let your voice be heard. I actually did this truly on a whim. This wasn't something I really intended on doing. I was going to take a couple of clips from this interview and actually just chop it up on the podcast, but I figured that would just take way too long. So why not just do a play-by-play? I know most people do it on YouTube and you can see the visuals, but we're going to do it in the audio form. So again, thank you guys for being here. And hopefully this won't be the last one. But with that being said, you guys take care, get out there, play some games.